Today, let's talk about risk versus reward in mountain biking. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the hardest and definitely scariest line that I've ever ridden on my bike. We're up on the top of 𝙎𝙾𝙋𝙍𝙎. It's a pro line, and it really feels like it. So there are 7 main lines that I'm going to talk about today on this trail, and we're going to break down each of them and then show a video of how to ride them. So first thing we see is what is the old main line entrance. And this is a chunky rock. What I immediately see is that the conditions are quite good. There isn't a whole lot of dust on it, so I expect to have quite a bit of grip. Now, what you can't see on at least an action camera is the scale of this. This is a big move, so you want to be controlling your speed the entire time, and at no point on the rock are you able to stop. So your point of no return is probably somewhere on this slab where it starts to fade away, and then your island of safety is down at the bottom in the dirt. But there's a little bit of a tough challenge down there. So let's go down and take a look. Okay, we're at the bottom of move number 1, and you kind of get an idea of the scale of the feature a bit better. Now, everything looks pretty smooth. You can roll through everything. The challenge that I like to set myself is, can you slow down enough in this G-out to make the original line, which is to the right of the tree? And that is just all brake control, all staying calm. And if you hit the compression well and brake hard in it, you should be able to hook up and make it onto the main line. So that's the first feature. Let's go get it. Okay, rolling in here, I want to stay as slow as I possibly can the entire time. And my point of no return is about here. I'm locked in, looking ahead, trying to find my braking zones. This is extremely slow, and I can make the corner. Still not easy, and as you can see, I bumped my foot off a bit. But that's move number 1. Let's go up for move number 2. Okay, we're back at the top, and move number 2 is right here. Now, there are 2 lines. I would say the main line and the high line. First, looking at the main line, we have a pretty steppy entrance on some pretty grippy granite, but then you're locked into quite a chute. And if you look toward the exit of the chute, there's an aggressive stump down there. Maybe it's actually a rock, and I don't really want much to do with that. So for me, I would like to ride the high line. And the way that I at least have fun riding into it is up and over the rock, definitely optional, could go around. And then you ride along this shelf right here. And as soon as you get to the end of the shelf, it's time to go. It's time to drop in. So the key with a move like this is to stay calm while you're on the shelf, knowing that your point of no return is once you enter the shelf, and knowing when to turn downhill and to drop it in. Now, it's pretty grippy, but it's not as grippy as granite because it is dirt. And you really want to control your speed going into this because there could be a compression at the bottom. Let's go down there and take a look. Okay, looking at it from the bottom, you get a bit more perspective on what the run out looks like for the high line. And everything is a roll. There's nowhere you need to pull, nowhere you need to drop. But this compression right here will be quite aggressive if you don't slow down your speed during the granite section. Not too bad, but if we look at the main line, you'll see the stump that I was talking about. And there's a bunch of marks in it from people hitting, pedals, derailleurs, and other who knows what. And I don't want anything to do with that, because once you're locked into the channel, I don't feel like I can safely exit the channel and go high side of the stump. And I don't really want to be that close to the stump when I'm somewhat out of control. So I've done this line a few times, definitely a couple years ago when there was more dirt in it, but the high line is now the more fun option. So let's go up and let's get it. Okay, so first we want to have some fun, go up and over the rock, definitely optional. And now I'm in the feature. That's my point of no return. I want to control my speed, look where I want to roll, and then roll down. Again, not too bad, as long as you maintain your composure. And with that, we are at move number 3. So this one is probably the second scariest move on the trail because it is so big. Now, there's 2 parts to it. The first part is you ride the spine. And there's a couple of flat spots, like here, it's a flat spot, here is a flat spot, and here is the main flat spot. And these are places where you can control your speed, and if you're really good on your brake control, you can bail out as your island of safety. Now, once you get over here, this is where sort of the main part of the line comes, and it's a big rock roll. It's pretty smooth, you can definitely roll most of it, but the feedback I've heard from my friends is that it's pretty blown out at the bottom. So I can already see, based on how that compression looks, it's going to be quite an impact. But let's be responsible and take a look from the bottom. Also worth noting that this was the walk around and doesn't look all that fun to ride, especially with the dust. So we're not gonna ride it. Okay, standing at the bottom of feature number 3, and it is big. Now, usually you could go any direction. You could stay rider's right, center, or rider's left, and you'd have not much of a difference of impact. But right now, it looks like you kind of want to stay center or rider's right to catch as much of transition as you can. Now, still super, super rough. Definitely not going to be a super pleasant thing to ride, but the run out looks safe. The corner is relatively intact, and I feel like I can safely make it to my island of safety just around the corner. So let's go up and let's get move number 3. All right, let's ride feature number 3. Now, I'm confident in my equipment. Thanks, Imbi. I'm confident in the weather, and I'm confident in my abilities. So at this point, I feel safe to creep down the entrance of this feature. Now, I aim for the flat spots and get as much braking as possible, like right here. And then, at a certain point, you just have to go. So, no more grip. And there we have it. Definitely the slowest I've ever done that, and still pretty fast, pretty exciting. All right, let's go up for feature number 4. Okay, we are back at the top once again for feature number 4. Now, this one is technically easy to explain, so I can do it while I'm riding. But effectively, this is all about staying calm and fighting against the camber. So Squamish granite is exceptionally grippy, and it allows you to build trails like this. Now here, it's all about brake control and staying calm. So I go over the log, bump my link arm a little bit because I ride a range, and then I don't really want to be looking at the cliff. I want to be watching where I want to go and fighting the camber. So here, I'm on the brakes as much as I can be. Now this is quite an aggressive camber, but I want to look for some clean, smooth, grippy rock, just like that. And then a little bit of a bump, another bump, and I can see the island of safety at the bottom, and that is feature number 4. It's pretty scary when you look back up at it, but as long as you stay focused and you stay calm and really just focus on brake control, don't skid, should be just fine. All right, let's go take a look at feature number 5. Oh, made it. All right, so up here, there's a pretty major fork, and if you go left, that is what is termed the ride around, not this one. And if you go right lower down, that is the scariest line I have ever ridden. So first, let's check out the ride around, which is certainly nothing to laugh at. Now, the first thing we have here is a steppy rock. I want to aim for that middle step, control my speed, and then just roll down into the final bit. Not too bad. That's feature number 6 over there. We'll come back. This one, I see a little bit of gravel, so I'm not going to use as much brake as I usually would. I know that the island of safety is pretty safe down here. Nice, good run out. Okay, feature number 5. So Larvicide is quite an old trail, and I imagine that at least a decade or two ago, there was a lot more dirt on it. That is not the case anymore. So what I believe is the old main line is right here. And there's a couple scary bits, the main one being that root right there. I don't want anything to do with that, so if you're taking the main line, I would want to go quite high, carry your speed so that you stay high on the off-camber section, and make sure you miss that root, because that just looks like a pedal catcher. Now, thankfully, this trail has had some new lines cut in, and that is where this one is. So usually when I ride the ride around now, I want to stay high right, and what that allows you to do is it straightens out this whole entry section in the chute, and you do your turn up here, you look at your exit, you ride straight down the slab controlling your speed, and then you square off the corner and continue riding down the trail. Let's take a look from the bottom. So looking from down here, you can see the old main line funnels you into this route, which is quite a distance off of the ground, and I don't want to touch it. So taking the high line, control your speed down here. Here I want to aim for the rocks because the rocks typically have more grip than the dirt. Down here is a bunch of moon dust, so I want to be really careful with my braking here not to slide out. And once I've made it here, you want to square off the corner, ride across the old Bridge of Doom, and you're done feature number 5. So not too bad. It's all about setting up the corner at the top and looking around the corner at the bottom, because everything in the middle is actually quite simple. So let's go get it. Okay, coming in from that slab, we want to control our speed, and we want to look for the high line. So it's somewhat obvious. We want to stay high right. I even keep my front tire above this root right here because that allows me to make a wider turn into it. And then once I'm here, I want to be looking at the exit, controlling my speed on the rock, and then looking around the corner to make it to the next move. Pretty fun section. Definitely high commitment. You don't want to go over that edge with the catch berm at the bottom, but completely rideable and something I feel confident riding alone. And now we're at the bottom of the scariest feature I have ever ridden. Let's go check it out. All right, we're back up at the main fork, and after riding down this series of slabs, if you stay to the right, you're going to ride probably the scariest line that I know in the world that's on the map. So immediately you see there is a lot of exposure. It looks like a cliff, and honestly it kind of is. So this is your first point of no return on the scary line. This is not too bad. There's no camber to deal with. You just go down straight. You want to control your speed as well as you can and make it around this corner. A couple ways of doing that. You can go wide, you can go inside, you can do whatever you like, but you have to control your speed. So ignoring the gorgeous view, because we are in Squamish, British Columbia, this is our first island of safety. Now, if you can get here and feel pretty good, then maybe you're ready for the next section. That is entirely up to you to decide. Now, this is a high risk move, and this is where it starts getting a lot more high risk. So this left-hand corner is not too bad in itself, but the consequences of not making it around are very serious. So a couple ways to do it. You can either go inside, which is very high commitment, and then you sharpen up your entrance into the next bit. Or what I do is I stay quite wide with my front wheel, and then the back wheel takes a more inward path, and I can roll right onto the next bit. So controlling your speed on this is not too bad because it's relatively smooth and there isn't any gravel on it, but it's pretty serious because you don't want to go down there. Now, first off, there's my bike at the bottom for a scale reference, but this is not an island of safety in my opinion. If you were to stop here, that's fine, but the risk of getting off balance and losing your balance that way is just too great for me to take, and I do not consider this an island of safety. If you get to here, you're rolling down this skinny. Now, this is probably around a 40-45 degree angle, and the only reason this is rideable at all is because of the granite that exists in Squamish. It's pretty scary to walk down. The key here is you want to be really confident in your brake control, and don't expect to be able to scrub any speed on a section like this. Just expect to maintain it. So whatever you enter the line with, you just want to keep it the same and worry about controlling your speed at the exit. So not too bad, but it is kind of a skinny between two cliffs, and yeah, you're in it for quite a while. So by the time you get here, this is what I would call island of safety number 2. And this corner is interesting because there's a couple different line options. Now, what line you pick here depends on what line you want down there. So let's go down there and let's talk about the lower lines and how we would break it apart back up to the top and pick what we want to do. So just walking down, first I feel quite a bit of wind, so already weather's not super good today. But this is the craziest 2-part move that I know of. Now, I cannot hike back up this. I have to actually hike up another way, so I'm going to jump down and we're going to talk about this. But the first thing you come here and realize is maybe the trail ends. And that's genuinely what I thought the first time I was here. But by breaking it apart and having years and years of practice since I last came here, I actually start to put it together and see the lines. So first line is the bailout option. So if you come here and you're not feeling comfortable, you can let off your brakes, aim for that shelf, and then aim uphill and stop. So that is the bailout option. It's not too bad. You just have to get off your brakes at the right time. Now to get down it, I have to do a good 1.5 meter jump. Oh, maybe more. And we're down here. It looks a little bit worse. So this is not the crux of the move, believe it or not. That is down here. So what you see here is the final bit of feature number 6. And if you make it to that loose rock down there, you've conquered the hardest line in the world. But it's not all fun and games to get there. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look at the run out, and immediately you see on the right that there's a bit of a cliff, and there's actually no catch berm, there's no support. So focus your energy on making sure you go as slow as possible to make that left-hand corner. because that is just a deal breaker. If you don't think that you can slowly I can't even walk down this. If you don't think you can slowly make it around that corner, then don't ride this line today. It's not worth the risk. It's not worth there's no reward great enough for the risk of falling off that if you're not confident. But in order to be confident that you can make that left turn, there's a couple different lines that we can take. So first, let's look at the run out and see how comfortable we are carrying any amount of speed into it. So looking down here, the line is pretty ridiculous. You can see way up there it starts. But this corner, I find the key here is we want to look at this loose rock, because generally you go where you look. And then once you're around here, you can start to look around the corner a little bit more and make sure you clean the rest of the line. But we have to make it to here, and we have to make it around this corner safely because we don't want to end up there. So looking at it, there isn't a super intuitive line option on this stretch, but there are actually two lines that you can take. So the line that I think most people take, and what I see the most in videos that are posted, is what I'm going to call the middle line here. And the middle line allows you to take it somewhat step by step. There aren't any islands of safety, but there are a series of flat spots where you can control your speed and make sure that you're on course to success. So if you want the middle line, we're going to come up here, we're going to aim right here. So this, pretty grippy, and then we have this triangle patch. You can not stop, but you can control your speed, and then you want to aim along the granite to the next triangle patch down here, control your speed, and then it's kind of a ridiculous move, but you aim here and things start getting pretty off camber. So you don't want to touch the moss, you want to stay on the granite the whole time. And at a certain point, you're going to have to let off your brakes, and you're going to have to look around the corner, hit it pretty hard, and clean the line. So I would say that's probably the easier line. It's definitely no safer. I mean, neither of these lines are exceptionally safe if you're not confident in your abilities. But the other line is staying high left. Now, pros and cons to each, but if you stay high left, you stay literally as left as you can go, almost up against the moss. And what that does is it makes it very slightly less off camber. So if you were to slide, you would slide straight down rather than sideways. But the trade-off is that that corner at the bottom gets quite a bit sharper. And looking from here, I can actually see that loose rock. So if you want to take the high line, if you're comfortable, like really, really comfortable in your brake control and speed management, you probably want to stay as high as you can on this granite. You want to aim for as high as you possibly can on that little dirt patch. And then once you're there, if your speed is in check, you can make it around the corner, probably below that rock that's pointing out, and clean the line. But this move is definitely higher risk because of the risk of going around the corner with too much speed. So personally, I feel pretty comfortable doing things on granite and controlling my speed well enough to be able to do that. So I liked the high line, but depending on what you like doing and depending on what you feel confident, again, I want to emphasize that it's really important to be safe. You can pick what you like. But depending on what you pick here, that emphasizes what you choose right here. So ignoring the bailout option, because that is largely a walk around once you get to that point, you can either go riders middle, like center line. And the way I do that is I come right down this center of the face, stay on the granite as long as possible, around the root, and I aim for right here. What this is, this tiny little ledge, is an island of safety that you can build into your line. So if you come around this part, if you come in too fast, you can really compress your suspension, your fork, into this and stop. So that is your absolute last island of safety if you choose to do this line. Now, the problem with that is that you come in pretty wide, and if you aim here and if you really focus here and you really want to stop, you're probably not going to look around the corner and make it into that line, like no hops, but you can definitely do it no dabs. Now, that's what I did. I came here, stopped right here. I did a nose pivot, I did a back pivot, and then I made it over to the high line and rode down. So totally doable. Braden did it similarly. He came down the center line, stopped here, made it through the center line. And the advanced line, which I'm not really comfortable with, is staying far riders left, which is this section right here. And there's a few reasons why that's even scarier. The first is you're on the granite for less time because this is dirt, this is granite, so you're going to be going a little bit faster, and you kind of eliminate your island of safety because it's all just one move at that point. You're not going to be able to stop here. This is just kind of a mess. And the gravel, it's all downhill gravel, so you're not going to be able to stop. Now, maybe one day I'll ride that, but for now, that risk outweighs the reward of succeeding there. So all in all, it's a pretty wild line. And it's a line that really highlights the risk versus reward kind of trade-off that always happens in mountain biking. Now, I'm gonna walk back up this. I'll probably be out of breath as I talk. But first of all, I can't walk up that. That's just impossible. So let's go up here. But this is a very high consequence line. So the severity of a crash would be pretty high. But there's a lot of different things that you can do to reduce the likelihood of a crash. Because really, risk is just the severity of the outcome multiplied against the probability of occurrence. And there's a few things you can do to reduce the probability. The first and most important is making sure you are warmed up and you are fully confident in your own abilities. Because if you're not, then a move like this should not be attempted because it's just not safe. Simple as that. So over years and years of practice, I think this took me 5 or 6 years to do, I feel confident enough to the point where I can ride this. Now, it's fine if you don't ride this and your friends do. In fact, I would encourage you to walk around. But that's number one. Number two is you want to have full confidence in your equipment. And what that means is you want to be fully confident in your tires, how they have traction, how they break traction, and how they work. You want to be fully confident in your brakes, knowing exactly how to modulate them to keep your speed as slow as possible within this entire move. And you just want to be confident in your bike and make sure that nothing can go wrong, because nothing can go wrong here. That would just be too dangerous. And then the other one is weather. So the condition of the trail plays a large role in whether I would consider something like this. And because it's granite, water is not super affecting of the grip that you get, but things like dust certainly are. So thankfully this is a pretty unridden line, so it doesn't get a lot of dust tracked onto it from the dirt patches, but it's something you want to look for. And in the summer, actually I take that back, the bottom bit has quite a bit of dust in between the steps, and for that reason it's higher risk today. So take that as you wish into your equation. It's never worth getting hurt, and at least for me, if I have any doubt in my mind that I can ride a line like this, it's not worth doing. I mean, I know a lot of my friends have the opinion that, you know, if you crash and it doesn't hurt very much, then I guess it's okay to try. Or if you if you do hurt yourself, it's only a little bit, maybe that's okay. But for me, I don't accept any level of that in my head. I want to be 100% confident that I'm able to ride this feature. Usually I don't take multiple run-ups to this because I want to be that confident. Once I drop in, I am committed. I know I'm going to finish the line. And if I need to use an island of safety, I will use it. But having full confidence is the key to success, the key to being injury-free, and the key to having a good time out here for years to come. So let's take a look at feature number 7, and then we'll show you the clip. Okay, once you've made it to this corner, not if, but once, because you want to be fully confident, there is still more trail to come. So right here we have a little rock roll with a sharp corner, so I want to widen up the line and then get down to here. And before the trail is finished, here's one more feature. So let's go check out feature number 7. Now, first part, not too bad. You see that there is a cliff off to the right. I want to stay away from that, or make sure that I'm not looking that way. And feature number 7 is actually surprisingly difficult given how it looks on first glance, because it is a chunky, somewhat loose rock garden. So the point of no return is probably right around where my foot is. You can control your speed relatively easily into that. But once you are here, you're not going to stop safely, and you need to pick your best line through this. Now, some of these rocks are loose, which is super fun. You want to stay where the most solid line is. And for me, that's middle. So right here, I don't want to be braking on this rock because it's going to move. But the rest of the line is actually really solid and really wedged in there. So you can control your speed fairly well as long as you unweight during the loose rock. And I can at least control my speed well enough here that I know this is an island of safety. But some people get a little bit spooked by the loose rock and ride through the entire thing without the island of safety in the middle. The next one, very similar sized feature, similar roughness, except it's all solid. So you can either go to the right or to the left of the tree, but if you've made it down there, you have cleaned all of larvicide. So let's get this last feature, and then let's go up and let's do the hardest line ever. Okay, starting up here, I want to be aware of the cliff on the right, but I also see that that is the line with the least camber. So I'm going to reach my front tire out to this bump, control my speed. That actually slid, so I'm a little bit surprised there. But this move is all about unweighting over the loose rock. So once we get to about here, I want to pull up a little bit, compression, really brake hard there, and then that's the line. So let's go up to the top of the scariest line in the world and finish off the video by cleaning it top to bottom. Oh boy. Wow. Oh my God.